When you first log in to the PVOS roster verification system, you'll see your list of rosters. Your first task is to make sure this list is correct and complete. Do you have a roster for each tested subject and grade or course that you had responsibility for during the current school year? For students who are taking a Keystone course that are also taking a PSSA in the same subject, the teacher should have a roster for each subject and grade or course. For example, if a teacher taught Keystone Algebra 1 to students in grades 7 and 8, the teacher should have a roster for PSSA Grade 7 Math, PSSA Grade 8 Math, and Keystone Algebra 1 Spring Semester. Please note that course names are mapped from PIMS based on the state course codes provided to PVOS by your LEA or district, so the name of each roster may not be identical to the actual course name used by your LEA. Instead, it reflects the state assessment associated with that subject and grade or course. If you see a roster in the list that you did not have responsibility for, you'll need to remove it. Simply click the Remove Roster button at the top of the table. Then click the checkbox next to each roster you want to remove. And click the Remove button. When you remove a roster, it's not deleted from the system. Instead, it's moved to a list of removed rosters. You can restore a removed roster at any time. Simply click the Restore button next to the name of the roster. Once your list of rosters is correct, the next step is to make sure each roster includes the correct students. Start by clicking the name of the roster you want to view. To remove a student from the roster, click the Remove Student button above the list. Click the checkbox next to the name of each student you want to remove, and click Remove. The removed students appear in a separate list at the bottom of the page. Your school and district admin can view which students were removed from a teacher's roster. You only want to remove students for whom you did not have responsibility in that subject and grade or course. You can restore a removed student to your roster at any time. Simply click the Restore button next to the student's name. If a student is missing from your roster, you'll need to add the student. Make sure you know the correct spelling of the student's name and the student's PA Secure ID to be sure you add the correct student. Start by clicking the Add Student button above the list. This will take you to a student search page where you can search for the student by name or by grade. You can search for students statewide. Students can only be added to a teacher's rosters if they were in the PIMS course HQT in any LEA in Pennsylvania or in the current enrollment data submission from LEAs any time throughout the school year. When searching for a student, you can limit your search to your own school or search for students across all schools in your district or statewide. If any LEA in Pennsylvania included the student in their PIMS course HQT collection, the student will be included in the PVOS roster verification system. If your search turns up no results, double-check the spelling of the student's last name. You might try searching for the student by entering just a portion of the student's last name, or no last name at all. If you are still unable to find a student, you should notify your school admin by making a note in the comment box that will be available when you submit your rosters for review. Make sure to include the student's name. Once your search results are displayed, you'll see a blank checkbox next to each student's name. Click the box for each student you want to add to your roster. Then click Add Selected Students. The students now appear on your roster. When the list of students in the roster is correct, you'll need to verify or edit the appropriate values for the percentage of student plus teacher enrollment column and the percentage of full or partial instruction column. For guidance on how to calculate appropriate values for these columns, view the previous segment of this module. You can also read the FAQ doc linked in the resource section of this module. Your LEA has pre-populated these two columns from the submission into PIMS. You'll need to verify each percentage for each student on each roster. You can adjust these values by using the up and down arrows, or by highlighting the value and typing in the new number. When you hit Enter on your keyboard or click another field on the roster verification screen, the total instructional responsibility value for the student you were working with is updated. That student's row is also highlighted, so you can track the changes you've made. When you've finished entering values and making changes to your roster, click Save Changes. It's important to remember to save your changes. Edits are not saved without this step. Anytime you add a student, remove a student, or change the instructional responsibility claimed for a student, a symbol appears in the Edits column. Click the symbol to see a list of the changes that were made. All edits are tracked in the roster verification system. An audit trail documents any change made by anyone logged into the PVOS roster system. The audit trail is linked to each PVOS user account. You'll notice that some students' names are links to the student's testing history. If there is no link, it means you don't have permission to view that student's data. This can occur if you've added a student who also appears in the data at another school. It's fine to add the student if you had a proportion of the responsibility for that student's instruction, but you won't be able to view the student's testing history. If a student's name is highlighted in the roster, it means that the student is overclaimed. Overclaiming occurs when the total percentage of instructional responsibility claimed across all teachers in the state for that student is greater than 100. For details about an overclaiming situation, click the cell in the Total column. If the other teacher or teachers claiming instructional responsibility for the student are associated with your school, you'll see their names listed. You'll need to work with those teachers to resolve the overclaiming issue. If the student was claimed by a teacher at another school, you'll see the name of the school, but the teacher's name will not be displayed. In this case, your school administrator will need to help resolve the issue within your district or LEA. When you've finished verifying one roster, return to the Roster Verification Summary page to work on any remaining rosters you have. To return to the Summary page, mouse over the Reports menu and select Teacher Roster Verification Summary. Once you've completed all of your rosters, the next step is to submit them to your school admin for review and verification. On the Summary page, below your list of rosters, you'll see a button labeled Submit All Rosters. When you click this button, all of your rosters are submitted. Please note that it's not possible to submit your rosters one at a time. You should only click Submit All Rosters after you've completed all your rosters. When you submit your rosters, a comment box is available for any information you feel the administrator needs to know about your submission. For example, you may wish to note that you were unable to locate a student you want to add to a roster. If you do not click the Submit button, your rosters will be automatically submitted to your school admin at the end of the teacher roster window. Any data on the roster at that time will be considered verified unless returned to you by the school admin at a later date. If your school admin needs you to make additional changes to your rosters, they'll be returned to you within the PVOS roster verification system. You'll receive email notification if your rosters are returned. Make all necessary edits to your rosters and resubmit all rosters to your school admin by clicking the Resubmit All Rosters button.